Why don't we begin? We're at 11:46. We may have
Okay.
someone wander in.
Sure.
If I can take a minute or two and just kind of introduce you.
Yeah,
For
sure.
those of you who don't already know everybody, but I'm supposed to. Plus, we have a whole bunch of people watching us on Zoom.
Hi, everybody.
And some of them may not know what we got here. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to start with Sarah. Sarah Sheps is a casting director at Mann Casting. She is a proud member of the Casting Directors Society of Canada, has been in the business for over 20 years. She is a graduate of Sheridan College's musical theater program and spent time touring Canada, the US, and Europe with many children's shows, including Strawberry Shortcake Live, Dora the Explorer, and Franklin the Turtle.
Typecast.
She is extremely passionate about Toronto's talent and hopes to be casting them forever. Her greatest accomplishment to date is the birth of her boy, Henry. He was supposed to join us today, but couldn't make it because he's got a babysit for lunch.
I wrote that like the year he was born. I changed it.
I didn't know she was going to write that kind of, but my bio is
Your bio is
somebody else's
Your
bio.
bio is thin,
We
but
ran out of
It's
time
so
on news
thin.
and performances.
I don't like to
once
talk
on
about
Original
me.
Big Live. We ran out of questions.
I'm going to shift to Robert Kennedy.
You're going to say bye to the best.
Yeah,
My name is
yeah,
Stephen.
yeah. No, yours is really short. It's the same thing that you wrote on the website.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Robert Kennedy is an actor, a coach, and a teacher with over 35 years in the industry. Robert coaches actors from 7 to 75 for television, film, and theater auditions, as well as pre-production prep. He is a veteran of dozens of commercial campaigns for companies as Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Midas, Visine, Cadbury Chocolate, just to name a few. Robert has appeared in numerous film and television projects over the years, including the soon-to-be-released limited series, The Big Cigar, feature film Older Every Day, and many more. Along with his wife, Catherine McNally, he operates McNally Kennedy Acting. Let's clap for Sarah. And last but not least, the man who needs no
Did you
introduction.
just make stuff up because I have no credits in there?
Yeah, you got nothing.
I'm 5'11".
You
He's
wrote
done a
it.
bunch of
You
stuff.
wrote it yourself.
Oh,
but
hang on a
it's
second.
really
Let me read you
important.
Stephen's profile. Dating website.
Tinder.
Okay, for those of you who here doesn't know who this guy is? That's pretty much what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this anyways.
All right.
Stephen Mann has led Mann Casting, a nationally renowned and award-winning. Okay, I did a commercial that these two cast me in that won 17.
Yeah, the
wine-
cans.
at the Cannes
That was
Wine
2 years
Awards.
spot for the gun in the.
Yeah,
that was a
the
crazy
Mother's
spot.
Demand Action. That was
Mother's Demand
crazy.
Action.
17 awards,
Yeah.
blew them away. I didn't even get paid because it was a PSA.
Neither did we.
Yeah, really?
Wow.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I don't mean shit, I mean wow. 15 years, Mann Casting, okay, here's some numbers. Mann Casting's been involved in casting over 7,000 jobs, including award-winning TV commercials from the Bessie Awards to the Gold Lion Awards to Super Bowl spots, you name it, he's casted.
Yeah.
He's also a stand-up comedian, and I heard he used to be a DJ, but you'll have to ask him more about that himself.
Well, I did morning radio, and I wrote for television. I've been in the industry my whole life, so I just don't like to write all that stuff. But I am proud I had a son too, like you said, right?
And I'm going to leave the stage now and
And
leave you to our illustrious panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I don't know what to do because the first thing I had written down was introductions.
So let's move down.
Oh.
But that's been taken care of. So I have things written down, and we've spoken over Zoom about what we can do here today, but I think we'll keep it pretty loose. This is specifically about young performers and coaching them so that they can do their best when they A, are doing a Zoom audition, B, doing a self-tape audition, or please, again and again, in-person auditions. Different approaches. I'll share some of the things that I do, and Stephen and Sarah will share some of their experience, what they see coming into the room, what they hope to see, would like to see, what they're needing to see, and we figure out how we can best provide that or give that to the young performer. So just to kick this off, I'm going to throw over here to Stephen and Sarah and just throw you a pretty big question. What would you say is the biggest mistake or misconception that the young actors bring into an audition or is sent to you?
You want to lead?
Yeah, a polished performance. Like when kids come in and they're like, they've rehearsed it with their coach, with their parents, and they know how they're going to do it, they know how they're going to move their hands, they know their eye lines, and then we give them a redirect. Even if their first take is good, we give them a redirect and they do the exact same thing. Big red flag, not ready. So I think there's a lot of over-coaching going on, and not by you professional coaches, maybe by their parents or whatever, but I mean, it's different when we're casting long form, and we do a bit of long format, but for commercials, we want a real kid in a real space doing real things. And when you're shooting a commercial on the day, you know, you have the director's version that they want, you know, which is more cool and fun. You have the ad agency who are trying to win awards version, and then you have the client's version, and the one on TV is the client's version. But when you see, you know, the directors will often send us their reel, and it's really interesting, their director's cut. So we need people who can be redirected, especially on the day, like they're on set, you know, if they're, you know, 8 hours unless they're under 2, and it's a 15-second spot, and they're doing it over and over and over again. So we just need to know that they can roll with it, that they can take direction, and even if they do come in with like a beautiful performance, we'll always redirect a child to make sure that they can be redirected. And if they're like, and some kids like come in and they are a little robot, and everyone's like, you're so cute at your family things, but they're like, my name is Sheps and I'm here to be a star. And it's like cute when you're 2, but when you're 7, it's like, that rubs me the wrong way right away. I'm like, whoa, robot, no thank you, unless that's their real personality. But we just want real kids in a real situation who can react, you know, in normal, real life.
Yeah, I think that it's very obvious to us that when we see kids audition, there's a big difference between the ones that get it and the ones that don't. And we all know that every kid can be rambunctious and funny and entertaining when he's around his friends and his family, but you put them now it's on Zoom, you know, with a ring light and lines, it's a whole different thing. Some children naturally really gravitate and enjoy it. Some feel a little bit of pressure. One of my pet peeves that we actually witnessed recently was just on Zoom, just an overbearing, overly aggressive parent. Not mean, not hostile, but like, you know, even like when they got off Zoom, like I even joked with the creative team, like I hope he gets to use his iPad tonight. You know, like she was, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, at the end of the day, there's a big difference between commercial coaching and long format, right? We're talking about sometimes a 6-second, a 15-second. If we're really lucky, it's a 60, and there's some really good creative. Sometimes there is that beat, you know, where you can work with them on the timing of the delivery of the lines, whether it's to the parent or the friends. But the majority of times, it's really trying to capture a child in his most comfortable or her comfortable zone. Just they're enjoying it, you know, and that's really important. It's hard to coach the subtleties of commercial auditioning, because remember, at the end of the day, Sarah and I have always said, watch commercials. It's like we're looking for a beat. You don't want to overcoach that. It's the subtleties. It's like teaching a kid actually how to take a bite of a hamburger on camera. Like little things like that that apply to our crazy world. They're not as much performance driven as they are, I want to say like rule driven, but like it's going to work or it's not. You know, it's that subtlety to me of teaching a child where that beat is, where to find that moment, and how to act subtle.
Great. I guess you kind of answered this question that I had next already. So just going off of that, the first thing that I try to do when I'm coaching a kid for a commercial, even for long format, is fun, the fun factor, that they're coming in and they're going to have a good time and not worrying about booking the job, and sometimes that will mean having a conversation with the child around, my mom said, my dad said, and I've got mom and dad in the next room, and sometimes needing to, what do you call that, when you get them away from that. Because mom and dad, you know, have them ready for
Deprogram.
Deprogram, yeah, something like that.
Deprogram my child.
But you know, bringing the child in like they're ready for their school photograph, as opposed to they're ready to be a kid who's on the playground playing baseball, and then they go and have hot dogs, because that's what we're selling. Everybody's get together as a team having fun, and then we have hot dogs because that's the best thing in life. So just focusing on that before anything, that they are having a good time in the room with me doing the self-tape or prepping to go into the room. And then off of what you just said as well, the whole thing of getting to do it a number of different ways. Not letting them get locked in, and from that, if it's a self-tape, finding the one you go, I think this is the most spontaneous appearing, the most effective way of selling whatever we're selling, which of course, as you all know, I'm sure, is not really, you're not really selling the product per se, but you're selling a lifestyle. You know, they're looking for what does this product embody? Is it about family? Is it about friendship? Is it about whatever? And helping the kid, without getting heady about it, helping the kid understand that and live in that world when they have nothing to say, or when they only have one word to say, or whatever it is, and maintaining the spontaneity of that. And by trying it different ways, they are then ready when they go into the room to get something offered to them from the director or from you guys sitting there going, can you bring some of this in for me? Can you try this for
And
me?
we do so many slate chats, and especially with kids. A lot of kids are SOC, so we'll be like, you know, what's your favorite holiday memory? What's your favorite Halloween candy? What do you order at McDonald's? And we don't care what they say. The worst is, and this is for adults too, when it like looks like they've sat down on a computer, written it out like it's their one-person fringe, you know, and then they present it to us. Like, that's the easiest way for me, and because we watch all, like, these self-tapes coming in, we watch everything before it goes to client. That's like the first way for me to be like, nope, you know, we just want to, again, just want to see them naturally talking. So like my son does auditions, and so when we do this with him and prepare him, we are like, okay, they want to know your favorite holiday memory. What is your favorite holiday memory? And then, you know, then we talk about it a little bit, and we're like, okay, go. And you can, as the coach, as the parent, as the person filming them and coaching them, like when we do it in the room, we don't give you warning. But now with self-tapes we do, but you can prompt them. Like if they're like, oh, my favorite holiday memory is, you know, sledding. Why do you like sledding? Like you're allowed to ask, like we in the room and the director or whatever would, you know, do that to that. So you should, as coaches, feel free to have your voice heard too, and that's fine.
Another, actually, what I was thinking as Sarah was speaking about that, is a great tool might be for you guys, especially that are coaching for the commercial world. You know, it's, especially back in the day, but even now on Zoom, like you go in, you get your audition, you see the script, and you see that there are kids in the script, you know, and then you see that through, you probably auditioned with the dad, and there was a kid with you, using that script, somehow getting a recording of that ad, and showing the child sort of the process of just how simple it can be in a way when it comes to, you know, because you get the script and you get the creative inception, however you perceive to play it as a parent or a child, but to have that script on file with the child, to show them the commercial and explain to them the process so that they're not overthinking it, is, I think, would be a really cool tool that I just thought of right now. And the last thing I just want to quickly say about Sarah is, the one thing that makes Sarah so special is her relationship with the parents. Like even back in the, like we just had a birthday party for Henry, and like some acting parents were there with their kids. It was her birthday party.
And like I don't have any friends. It was all ages. Like kids who auditioned for us and their parents. It's like so embarrassing at our studio.
And to be honest, like because we're in such a relationship-driven business, you know, there has to be a connection between you and the parents as well. Like Sarah knows the children so well, and interacts with them and becomes friends with them. Not that you guys need to, I mean, we're the big bad casting directors, right? So they would come, and it was just to make them feel at home. But you know, there's just something very special about the connection that Sarah was able to make with the parents, which maybe you can talk on, that really sort of diffused the child, like made them feel super comfortable and like no pressure.
Well, we're casting, like I always say, and it's harder now on Zoom, but you know, back in the day when we were in studio, I was always out working the waiting room, and I was casting the parents as much as the child, especially if it's for a few days on set, or you know, for a series where this kid is going to be like a real big part of it. The parents, unfortunately, are just as important as the kid. There are some beautiful, talented children that are like so darn good, they blow your mind, but their parents are really, really difficult, and we can't, in good faith, be like, bring them to set, you're gonna have a great day.
Yeah.
And I am the most supportive of the labor laws that are after, but they're like the labor laws for union, non-union commercials. They are, and you can, everyone on the internet and here, you can, like, they're on Actor's website, you can find them, they are strict, there are breaks, you know, there's a certain amount of hours, those are laws. So I never am like, like, I want a parent to advocate for their child 100%. If anything's unsafe, if your child needs a moment, they're children, like, take your moment, do what you need to do. That is not being difficult. Looking over the safety and the happiness of your child. You know how your child works. If they're not scheduled for a break, they need 5 minutes to, you know, go, then of course advocate for your child. But the difficult ones, like before they've even come home from set, we've gotten a call saying never again, this person was evil. Or just a challenge. So yeah, I'm always watching, and I'm watching the kids too when they're in their natural environment. And like, there's kids that come in to audition for us, and I know the kids of Toronto inside out. Like, if there's something I would say I'm good at, it's kids. I know them, and I've watched them from like babies to now they're all having bar mitzvahs. Like, they're like, I've known them for a while, but there are kids that come in and they're always happy. They want to be there, they want to do it, and those are the ones I fight for at the end. Like, are they the most talented? Do they have to be the most talented? Like, really, at that point, like, it's not like they're starring in a TV series or eating a McNugget. So yes, of course they have to be talented, but not blah blah blah. But yeah, the ones with a good attitude, because I know they'll go to set, I know they'll have a good time. Kids that don't want to be there, we can tell. And everyone has an off day. They're kids. There's going to be a day where they do not want to be there, and we're not like, oh, never bring them in.
But especially back in the day when we did in person, like, remember, during the school year, the parents are picking these kids up at 3:15, 3:30. Some of them are schlepping all the way downtown or from outside, you know, from Barrie, whatever. They're children. If they don't have the right snack, they're gonna have a meltdown. Like, you just don't know. That's one of the benefits, especially for kids and parents, with Zoom, first round Zoom casting. Because, man, whoever has kids, you know, schlepping your kid from school, after school, when they just want, maybe they want to play, you know, maybe they don't want to do it. So, but to just extrapolate a little bit on what Sarah was saying about, you know, eating the McNugget. Look, at the end of the day, we work with a lot of adult actors that still haven't mastered the art of doing nothing well for commercial auditions. So teaching that to a child is completely different. That's why I think if we diffuse the pressure and the performance, because, like, hold on to those scripts when you guys are working with kids. Get a copy of that spot. Because really what they're doing is it's just hitting a moment, a timing moment of, like, you going to eat that? You know, whatever it is. Like, it's just finding one small moment, and it's amazing, adults and kids alike, how difficult it can be when there's no script, there's no real character, there's no backstory. It's like, it's just a beat. It's hard. It's hard for adults, you know?
So just to speak to that, finding that beat, like you say, it can be hard for adults as well, is improvising with the kid. I mean, I'm an actor, you're an actor, you're working on being a working actor. It's about improvising with the kid. What's the scenario? What kind of an exchange can you have with them to work up to that beat? What kind of a conversation, what kind of a game, whatever that you can do, and you've got the camera rolling. This is specifically for self-tape. You've got the camera rolling, and then you edit, right? When you find that beat. What happens on set, we have less control over, for sure. But hopefully there's somebody on set that is professional enough, or a fellow actor that can go, hey, look, buddy, let's try this.
To get the recall, though, to find that beat without the assistance of the coach.
Absolutely.
Even though they nailed it in the self-tape, but now they're alone, right? So it's like teaching them how to find just the context of, like, you have 30 seconds. This is kind of how it works, right? In that moment, there's going to be one moment for you to sell yourself. Above everything. It's so crazy.
So I call that, like, I coined this phrase, but I call it the in. What's to the actors in for those moments? What can they do just prior to that is going to bring that back? And the kid, like all actors, in my opinion, is going to learn that by experiencing it. So once you have found that path in, you can bring that path back, but it's shorter. So you can just get that beat. So you know that leading up to this, you've been running down the street and the ball ran out, and you went to get the ball, but you got pulled back by your mom. So it's that moment before, and you're pulled back. But you know that you've been running. They've got that visual in their own minds. They've got that movie playing in their minds, and it's something that I use as an actor myself. Is that what's my movie? What's been going on leading up to this? And getting the kid to use this. This is the child's most precious gift as an actor, and that's their imagination.
Yes.
They haven't gotten to that place yet where I've got to protect myself, and I can't look stupid. That I deal with so many of my adult actors. It's like, man, take the armor off. You know, don't be afraid to act the fool. A child has their imagination. It hasn't been squashed yet. So that's what I try and bring out, and asking those questions of, so what is this for you? Do you like McDonald's, as you were saying? Have you been there? Oh, you like Harvey's? So let's pretend it's, turning it around. And also just something that I think I heard you say, Sarah, or maybe it was you, Stephen.
We share a brain, one of us.
Same voice. In the self-tape, I think I heard you say that as coaches, it's okay for us to be heard in their audition if we're guiding them to that moment.
Because that's what it is in the room, that's what it is in the recalls, and that's what it is on set.
And that's what they present to the actual client in order to sell that specific program. Absolutely.
Right.
Kids who listen though, kids who want to be there, that's the number one best quality, that they want to be there, that they want to be doing it. They're not doing it for their parents. That's like number one. Number two is kids who will listen, and adults, just listen, because listen, when you can tell a kid is listening and then they take the redirect, or they're actually listening, to the lines that the other actor is saying, that is just life-changing. I think for kids, because they don't always get that, they're like, okay, this is the time that I'm acting.
Yeah.
Someone else something, okay, so I do nothing until, now I'm acting again!
Right.
And now, when you can tell that a kid is listening, it just blows them out of the water.
Yeah.
There's this actor, we work with a million good actors, and I'm grateful every day for the talent we get to see, but probably the most talented person I've ever got to be with in the room is this little boy named Gavin. He's in everything. Gavin McIver Wright.
Oh, the redhead.
So he is, he's probably 12 now. He probably started, auditioning for us when he was 5, 6.
Yeah.
And one day, he was probably 6 and a half at this time. I was like, Gavin, you blow my mind in every audition. You're so good. How are you so good? He's like, Sarah, this is what I do. I think, what would a real kid do in this situation? And then I do it. But he has we've seen him for one commercial, maybe 5 years, because he's like a superstar, and he's just in the lovely parents.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for his success, but I was like, wow, okay, that's great advice.
That's so cool. That 6.5 year kid
maybe
just brought down the core of what acting is all about.
Yeah.
I think, what would I do if it was really me and I do it?
He's special, and there's certain kids that are really, really special, but the majority of the children that you guys are going to be working with, especially, are just stepping foot into the arena, right?
Yeah, it's the way in.
Yeah, and just to further up what I'd love Sarah to talk a little bit about also with regards to the relationship, it's just like my son does an audition. He's asked me a couple of times, until I really know that he understands the discipline of it, I don't want him to do it, but he plays basketball. I have a relationship with his coach. I talk to him about it. I'm new to the sort of the coaching scene as far as learning more about each individual program and coach. And I think that for a self-tape, it's one thing because it's pretty quick. It's really focused on the material. One thing I do like about this is if you create a program that it's like gymnastics or basketball. It's a genuine hobby where they look forward to seeing you. And it's not about booking a job, it's about getting comfortable in your own skin, about improv games, creating a program for the children where it literally is like a little summer boot camp, That to me is exciting because you have the opportunity to really, really perfectly plant that seed in that child and tap into that potential. Because if the ones that love it, man, they love it. And it's not necessarily the structure of a commercial that you're working on in the self-tape. It's the freedom to perform. It's learning about improv, about comedy. You offer so much to these children's lives that's far and beyond them booking a job. So with regards to the relationship, Sarah with the parents, I mean, it's unbelievable just how comfortable they are with her. And maybe there are certain things that you would like to share about just how you approach it, because it's a lot. I think it's a lot.
Like they have to want to do it, and we all also have to know that people have off days. Kids have off days. If the kids are 4 and under, there's 2 on set because we get it. Also, you as parent, like please tell the parents that the people you coach, like also advocate your kids at auditions. If your kid needs to use a bathroom, if they need a snack, because we are back in the studio quite a bit. They're driving in. Their audition time is now, but speak to the session runner, can we have 20 minutes? Because we need them to be in their best spirit and mind too, so we will always make it work for them. If they're, if they need some time, for sure. And another good thing we try and do, which I would recommend you tell them, I guess, when we're doing like adult and child, I try and pair them up ahead of time and be like, hey, Charlie, you're going to be with Steven. Hey, Steven, this is Charlie. And then I try and get them to hang out for a couple minutes. You can always ask the session runner, like, hey, who is like my son's name is Henry, who's Henry going to be reading with? And then I'll be like, hey, I'm Henry's mom. Henry, this is going to be your pretend mom. That's really helpful so they feel comfortable. This doesn't really relate at all, but in case I forget to say it, I would tell all the kids to hide self-view on Zooms, especially the little ones, because like when we have kids auditioning, they're just making eyes at themselves on Zoom, which I get because that's fun. So I do it too, but I don't think parents or some coaches even know that you can do hide self-view. I think it's really, really helpful for kids because otherwise, honestly, they're just like batting their eyelashes at themselves, which isn't always serving them so well. And I guess, I don't remember the question, was the parents.
Just having that relationship with the parent to update them, to share with them, because, again, this goes outside the box of just a self-tape audition thing, but like to create something that the children really look forward to is something that
and you have to celebrate the small wins with kids, with adults, with everyone. Like, if you're being brought in by Mann Casting, by Jigsaw, by Stephanie Goran over and over again, that's a win. We're not like, gosh, that kid was awful last time. Let's waste their parents' time and again,
This leads us into like the rejection factor, which I think I just want to touch on really, really quickly, because I remember with my eldest son who booked a couple of spots, and then he went out for a movie audition and he didn't get it. And he was so despondent, he was so upset, and at that moment I was just like, if I don't see him get over this, like on his own, with obviously a little bit of nurturing from me, then this ain't for him, and he never did it again. And that's really important for you guys, because when you're prepping them to these self-tapes, because you guys know, it is all about rejection. There's so much rejection. It's not a validation-heavy driven business.
But that's why, celebrate if the same casting director brings you in again. Like, honestly, that means you're doing a great job. And as coaches, if you see that, like, oh, they have another one for Mann, they have another one for Jason Knight. Like, obviously, what you're doing with them is really good, or we wouldn't keep bringing them in. If they're getting recalls, like, holy Toledo, that's great, because we do get lots of tapes, especially in commercial, that's more of a volume business.
It's hard to book a commercial, so any kid that does book something or a movie or something, and he goes to school and his friends saw it, like, man, that's like the end of Rudy, like that's a special moment.
You gotta celebrate the commercials too, and if you're being put like a veil check, we don't use the word hold or veil check, because I know this is actually
we're talking more about just how
if they put a pin in you, or the secret words we all use, if you know you're in the top 2 and you're just making sure you're still available, that's huge too. Like, you don't always win the gold medal and you don't get the $8,000 and you're not like in a spot, which is fun to show your
You're not
friends.
in the commercial, but
like you're the silver medalist at the Olympics. Like, you've got to feel good about yourself. Like, you've got to celebrate the small wins, and then.
Robert, I think it was like Robert speaking.
Oh yeah, sorry Robert.
I know.
We're here
I'm sorry.
for you guys in that regard, absolutely. In my experience, that is always with the parent. Dealing with the parent around the rejection more than the kid. I've got one client that comes in, and when I open up the door, he goes, "Hi, Uncle Rob." I'm like, "I'm not your uncle, but." And then my conversation with the mom's going, we're just wondering what's going on with this, because it's like, he's got another audition.
Yeah.
And he just filmed something a month ago,
Mhm.
and this is even around, you know, TV and film projects, and it's about the parent. My experience has been the kids are always like, what am I doing now?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I help them, you know, do that the most effectively that they can. That's the relationship with the parents.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will say it, and other times I can just see them. You know?
Training kids is training parents, and you can't do a
Yeah.
cost-benefit analysis on, or, like, I've spent this much money on classes and I'm not
Yeah.
getting this much return.
Mhm.
I bite the inside of my cheek when I hear people explaining that rationale to me. And
Well,
like,
it's like hockey,
Yeah.
like kids who play hockey, kids who do gymnastics. The acting is sort of like that too, like you know, like you're spending a bunch of money, sure, on everything, which is great. It's training, you know, like when you put your kid in dance, like I was in dance, I don't think my parents ever thought I was going to be a real ballerina and they were going to get their money's worth out of me, you know, making money on it. But it's just something you know, you do, and as long as it brings you some joy. Yes,
Yeah.
it's work, for sure, auditions are work. I get it, like, there are many times I've bribed my kid with a marshmallow. I'm like, let's do it! Here's 3 marshmallows, we're gonna do it, you know? I also would tell coaches and parents, don't leave it for the last minute, because I'm sure some people, like, it's commercials, whatever, but if they have a big audition for, like, you know, a life-changing role, I wouldn't leave it till, like, the day before the deadline, because they could be at your coaching and they could really not be feeling it that day.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you may want to say, like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
let's try again in 48 hours, you know? So
Yeah.
when people leave it for the last minute, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, well, they had a bad day at school, and they
Yeah.
can't get rid of that, and they can't bring it, yeah.
So it's, yeah, and of course, like, do it when it's convenient, don't rush, like, you get an audition, shoot it that night, like, but if you leave it for the last minute and your kid is like having a nervous breakdown because you don't have the right marshmallow,
Yeah.
I always say give yourself a bit of time.
Yeah, so yeah, dealing with the parents, I guess, is one of the big things around that. And it's also different with a young actor that is experienced and a young actor that is just starting.
Mhm.
You know, if they've got experience doing whatever format, they come in a different way than a kid that's just figuring it out. And so there is that element with the actor and with the actor's parent of guiding them in a professional manner on what the technical requirements are, what the time demands are going to be.
And it's boring, like, the
Yeah.
first
What's the
time.
reality of being on
Like,
set?
you sit and you sit and you sit and you sit and you eat treats, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, go, and then you sit some more. Like, I think people don't even necessarily understand that too. Like there's a lot of sitting, like, bring a book.
Yeah, there is a lot. Hurry up and wait.
It is a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
And even like in auditions, like when you come into our studio, we try to be as efficient as humanly possible, but there's times where you gotta sit and wait because we're waiting because we love this kid and we have to see them with, you know.
There's also one other little perspective that I wanted to say. Just at the end of the day, I'm also a businessman, right? So maintaining these wonderful relationships with the parents, you know, providing a quality service where you're present and you're involved and you're nurturing and you understand your audience, and the child is happy. For those of us who have children, anytime your child enjoys anything, you're all in. Like, yeah, I'm back in. I want to. And your word and the word gets around just how much they enjoy your company and your service. And I think from a business level, just outside of, we can talk about all the creative spokes in the wheel, but you're running a business, you're entitled. You're taking your knowledge, which you've been gifted, and sharing it. And you're entitled to make a living if you do it properly and you do it well. And that's what I mean when about the relationships with parents, with children. Like, if they love it, man, it's gonna rain, you know? Like, they're gonna wanna come back. They're gonna tell their friends. The parents are
They're
gonna
gonna be on
talk
set
about it.
and talk about you.
And then you're
you know?
blessed because you're given, you have a gift and you're using it wisely, you know? And there's no shame in making money on something even blessed with.
If we can veer a little bit over to the technical side, specifically around self-tapes, because that is our world now. The biggest technical thing that I find the difference with commercials and TV and film is the size of the frame. Right, with commercial it goes a little bit bigger because there's usually a little more
Depends,
physical
yeah,
activity.
we try and
Right,
say
right.
very, very specifically what we want. But the main thing I'll say is that we need to see you and hear you 100%. That's obviously the most important, but what they should be spending their money on when people are, you don't have to be a professional editor. There's going to be someone on the day we hire to edit.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry so much about wardrobe and sound and this and that. We are hiring you to be the actor, so where people should invest if they're going to spend money on it is in their acting, because there's, you know, a whole team of people on the day, but that's why we're hiring you to be the actor. That being said, we need to see you and hear you. Ring lights are good. Natural light can be good, but it's unpredictable.
For us as coaches, we're gonna have all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So that's
I'm
good.
just speaking about, like, when I record my own commercial auditions, I'm going a little bit wider, because 9 times out of 10, I've got a little bit more activity that I need to do, and that's part of the storytelling.
Right.
And it is likely going to be a wide shot on the day,
Yes.
for part of it at least.
I see what you're
We try to be specific though, because sometimes the directors want it close, or if we do a couple takes, we'll try and say one like this, one like that. But yes, if it is not said, I would say always for commercials, I would go, a little bit wider. And I would tell your kids, anyone you're coaching, have a full body shot ready. A front, back, side of when they're not in pajamas, because, you know, we can only cast kids 4 to 8, and you cannot see on Zoom. And it's every single job where they're like, hey, can you please get a full body shot of? It's 8:45. They're in bed. So I think every actor, adult, kid, probably even dog actors, you know, like they should have full body shots, because we need them so much on Zoom. You can't see people's body. I would just always, I would have those.
Yeah, and a lot of times with these auditions, especially with you guys, like if there's any athletic endeavors or anything that you have to move, a lot of times we ask that you have, like if they're hockey players, like send us some footage, or if we're needing you to swim, like, so you gotta head out to the pool on the weekend. Like stuff that we cannot do in studio, and we used to like pack up here and meet you at the ice rink or rent a pool, and like, it was such a pain in the ass, I gotta be honest.
You can't even rent a pool. Once we had to rent a friend's parents' pool, and remember that one? That was just wild.
But we do try to simplify it. Like, it's weird, like the expectations in so many ways have gone up in this crazy period of the last 4 years, but in many ways they've also been reduced. So like when it comes to self-tapes, like for the kids, as long as like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't need a slide with their name, or for you guys, like, I just need to see you. You know, you need to be prepared with the material. Kids need to be prepared. Everything else above that, as long as you can see it and hear it, it's a bonus.
And you don't have to spend money as coaches and parents, like if it's a McDonald's spot, you don't have to go out and buy things. Like if people are, or if we say for wardrobe, you know, it's red, like if you have, like please don't, I mean, I encourage them to spend the money. Again, we're hiring them to act, not to provide the props, so great that they're hiring a coach to help with the acting. But one thing I will say, so use what you have, always use what you have. You don't need to go buy a sword, like use a stick. Never ever do a bite take of nothing though. Nothing looks weirder than biting the air. Adults, non-kids, every single food job we do, and we do, like 4 a week. So, a bunch of people just think like their bite take should be of nothing. We will send you the McDonald's, we will send you the KFC. If it's in studio, we will have the product. So I'm not saying go spend a bunch of money, but everyone has a piece of bread or something.
And again, that's a conversation with the parents before they arrive. They should be bringing the food that their child is going to eat, not the coach providing that food. And it should be a food that isn't going to crumble all over the place. And like you said, a piece of bread, a stick of gum.
Yeah, but like air biting is like, I can't tell you anything that looks weird.
But one of the things I think you guys all have to do when you're coaching and you're working with the kids is also with the parents, teach them how to properly use Zoom. Like to troubleshoot, like to be aware of certain things, like, you know, when you log on, make sure you change the name. Tell mom and dad, change the name to the proper name. Make sure there's no weird background. Make sure that you're connected to the right audio source. Make sure that you can't, like, just like a lot of parents, like, we waste a lot of time. And listen, I mean, at first I was like, okay, I get it. We're years into this. Like, they have to know how to use it.
And when we have 7.5 minutes.
And it's something as coaches that you can actually add to your menu of knowledge of like, this is how you do it, because this is how, for now, and maybe the foreseeable future, which we can debate, but self-tapes for round 1 are really working. People need to know how to troubleshoot Zoom. It's a very valuable asset to add. Because it's like when they come on and they're clueless and they're getting frustrated, like,
and we're using all the time to help them, like, you know, move it here, move it there, and then it's like the 7.5 minutes, and like, well, we got 2 minutes of directing and acting.
It's true.
Otherwise,
like, you guys have got to teach Zoom.
Well, and so to that, if the young actor has a Zoom audition, I always ask to do a Zoom coaching. Don't come into the room to work with me. I'll do it over Zoom, and that's the opportunity to then say, you know, you've got the lights too bright, the lights are not bright enough, I can't hear them, you've got to up the volume, you've got to do whatever. That's the opportunity, and conduct the coaching like the audition is going to be conducted.
And kids are kids, so it's like, adults can adapt a little bit easier, but like Zoom is weird. Like it is weird when you like hear the director's voice and you hear a reader off camera. You don't always get to see the reader. Like it's weird for an adult. So like for a 6-year-old, they're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yes, I do think that, you know, it's going to be Zoom recalls and stuff. Zooming with them would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, and as coaches to understand, like, for example, like if we're watching on Zoom and you've got 2 kids and they're exchanging dialogue, like we'll say to the child, like, look to your left, right? Camera left. Like, it's just preparing them for like what, because they're really, that's how it is now for round 1. When you're in person, it's a lot easier, you know, with a person. I mean, look, but on Zoom, when they say, Robert's on your left, the kid's going like this, you know, like, you have we tell you everything, you know, look up, when to look up, or it's just, think about it within the confines of a Zoom screen. Have a checklist to troubleshoot, make sure they understand that, like, they're not going to see the director, like, it's preparing them that, like, these are the instincts that you may now have to rely upon that you've never had to before. Kind of more on your own, but we're there, like, we watch it. The director's listening. It's just kids get tricked up that they don't see that person. A lot of people say, I can't see anybody. Like, that's a common thing. I can't see anybody. I see myself. Is that normal? Well, we have to spotlight that video so that when we record it and edit it and present it, that they're isolated, right? So, yeah, sometimes it's a 2-shot. We never do 4 on Zoom. 4 would be just
No, people always ask for like, oh my God.
You have that one person's in the car with no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, oh.
Two max for us. We're at 2 max.
But yeah, that's something that as coaches you have to start implementing, like just how to work Zoom, just how to perform within the confines of what you're given.
Just to speak to auditioning for commercials in general, it of course will apply to young performers, but it also applies to adults. And you already mentioned that the important thing is to be seen and heard, obviously. Little things around wardrobe being appropriate for what the child would actually be doing, what the actor would actually be doing. At a wedding, I'm going to be in a suit.
Even down to your shoes. Like, my husband's an actor, and like I do some tips with him all the time. He always changes his foot. Like, for him, he needs to feel.
Yeah.
And I think for kids, that's good too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, we're hiring a wardrobe stylist to style you, so you don't have to provide your own costume, but whatever makes you feel as an actor the role. And you know, it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt you for the clients being like, oh, they're in a business outfit, and that's what we're, you know, it helps them see it too, but I think it's mostly for you to feel, you know, like you're whatever you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Along with that, what are your thoughts around colors? Like, you're auditioning for Belle, wearing a little blue. You're auditioning for, just a hint.
Totally. Every little thing that you can add with wardrobe or styling, you know, it just gives you a little tiny bit of an edge. Like, back in the day when we did in person for the first time, we had lab coats, right? So we would give you guys a lab, whatever looked like a scientist or a doctor or an educated person with a white coat on. But for kids, like if they're going in for like a skater kit or something cool and funky, tell mom, like, put gel in there, like, make them a little cooler. Nothing over the top. Nothing that people are going to be like, what is that? Like, that's a bit much.
Nothing that takes it away from the audition.
But like, you know, again, like if it's Staples, like wear red, you know, that's a very smart, you know, suggestion as far as color matching the product when people are branded by a specific color. But at the end of the day, it's like good performance tops everything.
Yeah.
But wardrobe stuff, little things will definitely assist.
I also think, I guess this doesn't answer that question, but it's a thought. Watching past campaigns is really, really helpful. If you know you have a McDonald's commercial, everyone has the internet, just YouTube McDonald's, especially for kids. I always show my son past campaigns. I'm like, see what the kid's doing in this one? Nothing. Or you know what I mean? Like it just helps. You know, watch past Rogers campaigns, watch past stuff, unless they get like have a brand new ad agency and they're like rebranded completely, it's gonna be in the same world.
Yeah.
So let the kids as coaches, you know, ahead of time or whatever, or the parents, like just show them the world that this spot lives in. You could always ask the director too, we'll always tell you, it's not a secret. And they all have their reels on their production companies, and you can see their style. Like some directors are you know, just a bit more interesting the way, and some are very, very dry and subtle. I always like to watch directors' past work. I think it's just helpful, like even when we're you know, working with a new director. Yeah, and we just kind of see their style. I mean, for kids that might be a bit much if they're young, but past campaigns really are helpful.
But this also ties into like holding on to those scripts, you know, for the kids. You know, when the spot airs, you know, reviewing the audition with them, watching the spot with them, you know, like stuff like that. I think is really, you know, good. It would be. I've never tried it, but I think it'd be really educational for all parties involved. Like you see it from start to finish. We worked on this self-tape. Here's the audition. Here's the spot. And this is how it worked out. Here's the script. Maybe try it again. Like just to really simplify it, because again, it's like it becomes so complicated, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. It's just understanding the art of the commercial. It really is. I mean,
my favorite is when we watch a spot together and it's something we've recast and like missed dinners with our family, and like, I mean, when we were at the office, I'm like, it's 9 o'clock, we're still here, and then I watch the commercial, I'm like, oh, we see their ear. I'm so glad I missed 2 dinners so I could see the side of this person's ear we recast for 2 days.
the process is so heavy compared to the end product.
But there's so much money put into them. When we think like our commercials are probably the same budget as a whole episode of Murdoch Mysteries sometimes, for, you know, a 15-second spot. So I get why they, like, the audition will be harder than the shows. And I get why they're like, that kid or that adult has to be able to carry it. There is a lot of money, you know, weight on that performance. So I do see why they put us through a really fun process in casting. But yeah, then you see the spot and you're like, oh my goodness. Cool.
Yeah, but it's nice to have reference from the audition and self-tape
Yeah.
to the end product. I think it really would offer some context to the children to understand, like, again, like, it keeps me back. All I've done, we're doing a lot more long format now, but Sarah and I understand the art of the spot. Like, we really do. Every script, we know where it's going to be a cutaway. We just feel it because we've done so many. And when we watch them, it's so
And we know what
apparent.
commercials are going to be good because we're like both like a tiny bit dead inside, and we get a script and we're like, oh my god,
It's
you
a good
read
one.
it, it's awesome, like
Yeah.
this spot is awesome, and I'm like, whoa, we have feelings.
And the lower, to be quite honest with you, the lower paid spots with the lower, you know, with like newer production companies or PSAs, those are usually like the best creatives, as you know, right? And it's like, you get a great piece for your reel, and you get to be involved in a project that actually moves you to a certain extent, right?
And for kids, it's
so
pretty
fun.
fun to be in commercials, like to be like, that's me, or like,
Oh,
I don't know, I
yeah.
have so many of little baby Henry ones, like, I mean, he didn't care at the time, but I'm like, so fun, like these little, it's so nice to have little memories of your kids, like on TV, you know? I don't know, it's just, I see why kids want to do commercials. It's like, it's kind of fun.
And the paycheck doesn't hurt either.
Paycheck didn't hurt.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, like for me, as a child whose mom was a casting director, I hated it. I hated auditioning. And I was honest about me hating it. And the director would, I remember being in a commercial audition with my sister, and it was for probably McDonald's or some burger place, and they said to my sister, do you like hamburgers? And my sister's like, I love hamburgers, they're the best, they're delicious. Do you like? No, my father forces me to eat them. And he did. But Budhuckers, I'm like, that's not cheese, that's weird. I don't want to eat that. And I was honest, it was just not for me. And there's certain kids, like, but it doesn't mean that, like, the act of coaching, just like with improv, like when you go to Second City, you do improv classes with adults that don't even act. I mean, it's such a great skill to teach. So even kids that come to you that maybe don't even have, just getting them comfortable in their own skin, finding they're funny. Like, there's so many benefits to it that doesn't have to lead to a paycheck, although paycheck is nice, but it's also a wonderful opportunity for them to grow, you know, and you're offering something really special that doesn't have to lead to a paycheck. Great, you know, but just getting comfortable in the process, you know.
Yeah, there's really, I guess the biggest role we have is to maintain that sense of fun and play for the child, while getting a professional, effective audition out of them.
They won't even
And-
see it necessarily, because that's your work, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you may not even get the validation, but like all of a sudden these kids are coming on the Zoom, clicking on this, clicking on that, they're prepared, like, and it's like, that's on you guys. You know, that's what you offer them, and that's wonderful. It's selfless.
It's
Well,
selfless.
thanks.
You know?
You're all
But
amazing.
the parents pay you, right? So that's probably selfless. But, and like I said, you're entitled to make a living if you're offering a quality product and service.
And I mean, and as casting directors, we like, I love, like, I can tell sometimes when as coaches, or like, I just have your studio in our Zoom room, I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
And then I see them come in and it's like, oh, this is so great, or, yeah, it's like, I mean, we are so grateful that, you know, some people can afford your services and that they use you because the tapes really are at a different level.
Yeah, totally.
And when they're zooming in your studio, obviously, like, you guys have figured out what a ring light is, so it's like, it's very pretty, so we're grateful when you are used.
Yeah.
It really helps us.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I don't have anything else written down. And we still have a little bit of time. I think we have like 15 minutes.
We could just freestyle.
I got a question.
Yeah.
There,
Sure.
I'm sure that other people probably have questions too.
Open it up.
I can either go first and lead and give everybody else permission, or I can go last because I'm the last person who should be asking.
It's an aggressive room. Just
Yeah.
read the room. Let me
Yeah.
feel the tension in here,
I
right?
have taken
I know.
focus.
Yeah.
For starters, here's a couple of stupid, simple questions. How have quantities of numbers changed because of this new world?
Okay.
You used to see 50 people for a world, now you see 200.
It's not that dramatically different.
Okay.
We can take more chances, 100%. We watch everything, so it is lovely that actors who we haven't had the pleasure but have a fairly good resume, we can see them. Not everybody makes it to the director. When we do long format, like when we were doing Bourrier, we probably got but at once something's in production, like we'll get 10 tapes and 5 will go, like we'll watch everything. So yes, there is more, but somebody is watching your audition, so it's not like we're just like throwing 200 people and being like, who cares, it's all self-tapes, it doesn't take more for us, go! It's not like that. We do watch them all and put the best people forward, so if you are getting an audition, if the kid is, know that they have a chance, we're not wasting anyone's time.
I will say that, every job is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we actually have been really lucky, we've gone on a little mini run of getting some actor spots in, and the approach is completely different. Like, I don't need to throw that many options against the wall. The process is different. Also, remember, in the actor world, if we don't get it on the first round, which we normally do, we can add something to it, whether it's, what if we saw some options at scale and a half or double scale. Whereas with non-union, there's really, it is what it is, okay? Now, as far as the quantity, back in the day, when we would prep a non-union job, somebody couldn't make it, we would get an email immediately from their agent. They can't make it, they're going to decline, they're going to be late, they're not showing up. When we do it by EcoCast, we don't have the same tracking device to see who, like when we have our deadline set, because we're so busy, we can't keep going into each of the 12 links we're currently accepting submissions for and do a head count nor do I want to. So there is that part now where like, I don't know if I'm going to get 80% of the people, 90%, 60%. It's kind of different from the casting perspective because we don't really get to see that hands-on, like,
Replace somebody, as soon as somebody
yeah,
we used
like
to
back in the
replace
day,
and-
when Fran would call and she'd like, Sharon can't make it. I'm like, do you have anybody else? And like that we can throw in. It's just different now. So that's the first point. When it comes to more volume, listen, I won't lie, we are a little bit more liberal because of that, because we don't really get those firm confirmations, but also because I feel that the shift in what we do with commercials now, people just want more. I don't understand it. You do a round of casting and Sarah and I are like, this is some great people. And then all of a sudden the spec changes. And then all of a sudden this changes. And all of a sudden they don't like this. And nobody could do the smile right. Like the tiniest minutiae of issues. So the volume also has helped us, and it's not over the top. I see on social people like, oh, they just carpet bomb. Some non-union jobs, hell yeah, we do. We're looking for Japanese business women. and people that can play water polo, and people that do skateboarding trip, and people that are new immigrant. Like somebody asked, we just want options, because a lot of times we can't even vet these actors. I know what you bring to the table, you bring to the table, you bring to the table, you bring to the table. A lot of these people we don't know, because we now have begun to use social media quite a bit. So the volume is, yes, it's increased, but we do vet the tapes. We will not present something that is absolutely outrageously awful. And sometimes we see things that are so alarming that we need to call the agent and say, I gotta share this with you, like this can't happen. I can't, like if this got by us, we presented it, whether it's somebody taking a comedic chance and it really didn't work, or somebody being inappropriate, or, you know.
And the wrong videos are uploaded, and there's
Wrong
not a job
videos,
where someone
totally.
hasn't uploaded the wrong video. And we're at 700 jobs in the pandemic?
Offensive material on the wall.
Wow. Or
Like-
if people don't watch their videos they upload, so audio's out of sync. If you watched it before you uploaded, you would know, or you let it run for 45 seconds past and your cat runs and you're like, oh, that was shit. Good enough, send it in.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, and that happens on the daily. So you watch your videos and label your videos. Like I feel so.
ING_003.
Everything, that's all we get. And then when I'm trying to build links too, I'm like downloading your hands, and I'm like, oh my god, if you just labeled it Sarah Sheps Walmart, like I would know. And your agents who are uploading all day, every day too, like I don't know how they possibly don't make mistakes, and they do because if it's not labeled.
The other thing that has increased the volume is, back in the day, our specs were quite precise, right? On every job. We are checking boxes now that we're not even asked to check.
Right.
So if I'm casting a Caucasian married couple, 45 to 50, that doesn't exist anymore. I'm disabled. I need to make sure that there's non-binary. I need to make sure there's same sex. So when you say, has the pool grown?
And every ethnicity needs to be
Every
covered.
ethnicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, because even sometimes, like when Sarah and I do the EcoCast, we're looking like, do we have enough of everything? Like, do we have enough to present that reflects how we are now, right? So, you know, we always are looking for people that are disabled, transgender, everything. Like it's all, like we now have to include it all. And that does up the volume. That's just the way it is, right? We can't change that. So yeah, but when it comes to actor jobs, per se, ones that you guys are in for, not the Maydays, the long formats, but the commercials, no, we bring in the best actors. And we don't carpet bomb them. There's no need.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
For an actor like Robert, who is experienced, if he has to go eat a McNugget, it's not going to be a challenge for him. For someone who is not yet fully comfortable in their own skin, but who is funny at their grandma's parties, and everybody says you should be an actor, then you bring them into the room and they like shut down. And whether it's kids, I mean, I know we're focusing mostly on young people today, but this happens with adults too. So, I mean, a lot of what we're supposed to do as coaches is teach them how to be comfortable in their own skin, how to put their game face on and get through those moments where you want to crumple, but you can't because camera's rolling and you're at the audition and people are around. And when you book the job, you're going to go out on set, and this is the real question. The jobs that I have, the commercials that I've done have not been easy. I've been in positions where I feel like I'm carrying a fairly massive amount of responsibility.
You are.
And I am.
Yeah.
So when, in your chat that you had online a few weeks ago, and also today, we have two things that come up simultaneously that I'd really love to hear you talk about. And I don't know if it makes a difference in the non-union world versus union, or if kids versus adults. Here's the question. I hear one person say in one moment, and again, the same person can say opposite, and 2 minutes later, I do it all the time. It's just a nugget, just got to be comfortable in your own skin. That's okay to get through the audition, but when you need to do it 85 or 100 times on set all day, and you need it either repeatable or be able to take these micro redirections, there's a skill set to that. So on one hand, we've got, it's just a fucking commercial, just eat the McNugget and look comfortable. And on the other hand, what we've got is, it's not that easy when you get out there. You're going to be carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders. We're spending a disproportionate amount of money for 15 seconds. We're also spending a disproportionate amount of time. We're spending an entire day shooting 15 seconds. It would never happen in film and TV. So,
Yeah.
can you talk to me about just show up, be comfortable, and everyone's gonna eat the fucking McNugget versus it's actually a fairly challenging niche, and when you get out there and you're working, you're gonna be carrying weight and responsibility.
Well, I'm going to throw it to Sarah in 1 second, but I think you just really answered your own question in a way.
I was just hoping you could talk about it in case you
No,
know
but what
something
you're saying is basically what your job and what you need to somehow articulate, who's gone through the experience and actually tangibly knows, like, the repetition. These are skills that you've acquired, you know, that you need to pass on. So I'm going to give it to Sarah, but at the end of the day, everything you said is speaking from truth, experience. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I think that you are more qualified than even Sarah and I to answer it because you've done it. We haven't, right?
Yeah, never.
You know, so you're asking us, like, how do we teach that? Well, I don't know. You tell me. You're a coach. You've been through it. You need to be honest and true. And I wouldn't know how to explain it other than, yeah, it's repetitive.
Yeah,
It's
like my
not
husband's
fun.
an actor, he does commercials, he does not commercials. He comes home way more exhausted from a commercial shoot than he does from a day on set, you know, like, even with Mayday, shoot it once, shoot it twice, moving on, you know, if they get what they need, reverse the cameras, next, you know, everything moves fast. I know when he's got like one scene on like a TV series, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna see him tonight, you know, and when he's on a commercial set, I'm like, see you in 14 hours, you know what I mean, like, I get it, it is exhausting work, it is different. There is a lot of pressure on you. I think you just kind of got to know that going in and just, I feel like you just got to roll with it. Like, and yeah, like, I mean, obviously if you book the commercial, and you're probably overqualified for the commercial. Like, there are these, you guys and the kids and everyone who auditions for us, like, I look at their resumes, I'm like, I can't even believe they want to do this. You know, like, they're beautiful, truthful, wonderful actors. So I guess you just have to have the confidence knowing, like, you got this, like, you can do this. Like, obviously they can do this. All of you can do this. Everyone who auditions can do it. But knowing with that mindset that, yes, it's not like a, you know, do it once, that was perfect,
Right.
moving on, you know, like, it just doesn't work that way in commercials. It is different, it is exhausting, and that's why you're paid pretty well, you know what I mean?
But as an actor, you know, you have a specific skill set and approach as an instructor. Same thing. You have your own truth. You've been through it. The way that you all will present that will be an honest from your personal experience. I think the more difficult job for what you would have to endure is finding that time where you have to have that candid discussion with the parent and say, maybe we should look at soccer. Right? I think
Or
that's,
step back for a little bit. Everyone can take breaks. We never, when people are like, oh, did you notice I wasn't in the business for a little bit? I'm like, respectable. Like, if it's soccer season and that makes your kid happy.
but like not after the first class, right? But like
Yeah.
after you work with a child, like, listen, like I'm telling you, and I speak from my own experience, grew up in this. I didn't like it. I never got it. I sucked at it as a kid. And it was time to move on. So the job for you guys is to try and create interest and develop skills and a passion for it. If it ain't there, it's not going to be there. It's time, and that's, again, based on the relationship with the parent, you know, being very candid and honest. Like, you know, maybe we need to take a break, however you present it. I think that's a bigger challenge than articulating how difficult it is to eat 100 McNuggets on set and repetition. You've done it.
For kids, hopefully they hire like a regular or if it's a kid-heavy commercial, they've chosen a director who, like, in their treatment is like, I love kids and I work with kids, or the first ADs with kids. Like, it should have some fun. And before I was working very full-time casting, I was a baby wrangler, toddler wrangler. I wrangled on set all the time. And I was there because I was fun and energetic, and I got the kids going, you know, so hopefully there's somebody with the energy that just keeps it fun and makes it fun for them, because set can be really fun. I mean, like, where do you go where they're like, here's a bunch of candy, it's 7 a.m., like, whoa, like, it is fun. So, you know, as much as it's like sit and do nothing, it's like, be paid to sit and do nothing and eat jelly beans. Like,
I also think
this
for
is fun.
a kid to be on set for the first time, it must be a very overwhelming experience,
Sure.
right? Like, just every sense is stimulated. There's candy, there's food, there's lights.
And they treat kids so beautifully, like, they really do.
But it's also prepping them for that too.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole, it's really, it's an experience. There's so much outside of the actual nuanced performance that you need to prepare them
Yeah.
for.
Again, the difference between
I like a kid
somebody
and I
just
love
starting
it.
out
Yeah.
Like,
and somebody that
so
does it on
fun.
a regular basis.
Totally.
Yeah. We've only got like a couple of minutes left. If anybody else has another question.
I may be wrong, but I think we have 18 minutes left. I think we're.
So one-
Those 3 minutes are gonna make or break.
I believe we go till 1:15 on this, unless you.
Oh, good, we'll keep going until there are no more questions.
I thought it was
Yeah,
only
cool.
one time.
Yes, I think it's just a really unique opportunity because for us, as actors, we have a certain relationship with casting, but then as coaches, we have a certain relationship with casting as well. For me, I look at the tapes that we do as a product for you. You are our clients, not the actors or the parents, because we're giving you a product that needs to be useful.
Right.
So I'm wondering, obviously that's the whole point of this conversation,
Yeah.
but are there anything specific that we can do as coaches that you need to see in the products that we're sending you that makes your job easier?
Outside of the technical elements.
And the labeling.
And the labeling, the technical components of that finished self-tape, after that, it's like that performance and that knowledge is really coming from you. And, one thing that I'm finding, just to be completely candid, in today is that there's so many, great acting coaches, self-tape studios, it's hard, sometimes I feel very conflicted to endorse in a way, because I just learned that you have this place that's right around the corner. I know Lars has got Laughing Viking. I know there's Sumac Street. There's so many. And I think it's great. I think it's really cool that, you did your training, you put your time in and your knowledge, and you're able to share that. But as far as what we expect from each individual school or coach, that's really your reward, how well the performance is. As long as the tape is labeled and we can see them and they've read the script and prep the materials, whatever you've instilled in them before that audition, that's on you, right? With nothing, we don't look for anything specific other than we want it to be booked and good audition and,
Because I'm also hearing though that seeing some process is okay in terms of like verbal coaching and stuff because part of me as a union performer, at times I feel a little conflicted because I'm helping a non-union actor get a job and or someone who's maybe not ready for the opportunity, and I know that the tape itself is great, but the actual process itself they're maybe not ready for. So obviously you have your own relationship with those actors as well. Is showing process helpful or?
I gotta jump in here for a sec because I think there may have been some confusion or I'm confused. I remember, I think it was you, Sarah, that talked, or maybe it was Stephen, who talked about when someone's being asked a question like, so what'd you do last summer? And they went, camp.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
then
I don't
jump
think
in
we
and
need
go,
the
tell me more,
direction
tell me what.
necessarily.
Not in the middle of the scene,
Yeah.
not in the middle, you don't want us talking and encouraging in the middle of the actual scene.
No, maybe rehearse it,
Yeah.
right? But if there's a subtle cue or a subtle lead or something that you could will really enhance the performance without taking away from it too much, yeah, do it. Yeah. And for the the slate and chats, sure. For line readings, absolutely. I mean, your goal is to obviously to have the kid book the spot, but really it's greater than that, which is the kid have a good experience and to learn something, right? Because the booking ratio, as we all know, it's tough.
And with kids and their parents, some parents are fantastic, some parents are not. And the ones that are not often are putting such monstrous pressure on their kids.
And probably on you,
And
on the
yeah,
coaches
And on us.
too,
But I'm not gonna be scarred emotionally for the next 10 years. And that kid who wants, like you're saying, it's important that we find a way to make sure that the actor's still having fun.
Yeah.
Not in a time-wasty way, but they may not have had fun on the drive to my studio. You know what I mean? They may be feeling a lot of pressure
Totally.
from an anxious parent.
Right.
So we really do have to, I kind of go above and beyond to make sure that there's some joy and some fun in their experience, that they walk away with something that feels nice.
I used to have a math tutor in grade 4. I would show up at her house. The first thing she'd do is put a plate of cookies on the table and put on the TV. I remember this. I was grade 4. And it was just for the first 15 minutes. And I was it wasn't the big bad math teacher or tutor anymore. It wasn't a pain in the ass to go there. Set the table. Know your audience. They're kids.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, the whole, not jumping right into the work. The kid gets there, it's so, hey, how's your day, buddy, what happened? And I've got some of the kids that are just blah, blah, blah. It's okay, we do need to get to work now.
Totally.
But,
But
But
maybe
that relaxes them, right? It gets them in that place of, oh yeah, okay, now we're gonna play.
I just see so much benefit to this process, more than just creating a great self-tape. I think it's giving something really valuable to these kids, and some of them are gonna really, really take to it and really look back and remember you. And that's, I mean, any job that you have where you can make a difference, even if it's small, it's such a huge win, right? So it's like, yeah, if they book it, great. Yeah, the self-tape should be great. They should learn how to do something. That's so much bigger, right? Like, it's so much bigger. No, but it's true.
I like it, no.
But I really do feel that. Like, I really do. Like, for a kid to come home and like, I had a great time. And doesn't even know what he learned. But again, I remember back in the day, there were those hockey dads when I played hockey. Some of them were really toxic. You guys just gotta be aware, like, you don't want that in your life. And sometimes, yes, unfortunately, maybe a child does become a victim of his parents' behavior, but you just want to, like, we see some parents and we're just like,
No, thank you.
oh man, like, that's not the way it should be.
The kid there has to be some joy, there has to be some fun, they have to want to be there.
Have to want to be there with
Same with
you.
adults though, like when people walk in the room and you can tell they don't want to be there too, we're like, okay, gotcha, There has to be some sort of, there has to be some little bit of desire to be there and a little bit of like not being the worst thing that ever happened to them. For anyone who auditions.
You've probably got clients whose parents, it's one parent that always brings the child because that's their thing.
Yeah.
They get it.
Yeah.
They are willing to do it. The other parent's like, I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few of those where it's always mom or it's always dad.
Yeah.
And that works because that parent is not toxic about it. That parent is, this is
Right.
what they want to do. And
I can't do self-tapes with Henry, like, and not
Right.
except for us, I mean, like, when he gets auditions for other
Yep.
casting places, I'm like, I'm useless, I'm like, come on, like, in order to
Kieran
get
would
an
never
audition.
self-tape with Kath. He always had to do it.
Yeah, but Dan Rangels and Dan session director, so Dan and him, like, they got a thing, they do their thing, but like, if Dan's out of town and I have to do like a Zoom recall, I'm like, God, I'm like, smile bigger, I'm like, oh my God, this is the job I
Yeah.
the worst stage of, and I don't go set with them, because I just, I know my limitations, and that those are them, I'm useless on that side.
I think I've taken more away from this from if I wanted to become an acting instructor with no training. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, this was a really good conversation. And I just really think, like, creating almost like a curriculum where you're involving, like I've been saying, involving the media. Not like calling it media, but like getting a copy of the spot, watching certain commercials, teaching kids about, because with long format, like, they can come to you and to you and to you and to you, and maybe one day you, and you're seasoned actors, and there's a script, and you have context, and you get it, and you can play it scared, you can play it this, you can play it. It's very black and white. With commercials, it's totally different, right? So for you to really teach them and watch commercials with them, and the things that you're talking about, the subtleties, the Disney vibe as opposed to the real vibe, have those materials on hand to watch with them. Pause it, explain it to them, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking about all this right now, like, it was
Just brilliant.
it's a really good idea to teach them how, rather than your voice, but to show them tangibly, like, show them the audition. You remember when you were celebrating at that kid's birthday party in that audition, that scene? Look at how it turned out. Look at how they played it, and discuss the difference, and let them learn the process. Like, incorporate more visual, tangible scripts, previous auditions that they've done, compare it to the final spot, hire me as a freelancer, it's very exciting, like, but I've never even thought of that. It's all just kind of coming to my head now, and I'm like, if I was a kid actor, I would be like, I can actually see.
I think I want to become a kid actor after this.
You
I
are
want
a
to be
kid
a
actor.
coach, I want to be a kid actor.
But they
Both
need
giving
to
up
actually
casting.
see how, like, in the audition, remember how excited your instinct was? Look at how it looks. Like, it's so small.
Have you noticed a difference between the kids that were auditioning pre-pandemic in person versus the kids that have never been in the room before?
Yes, 100%. Babies, toddlers, it's night and day. We call them children of the corn. Try to cast babies, though, after we were allowed to cast again. They wouldn't be held by anybody but their real parent. We normally bring 2 babies to set, we're bringing 3 babies to set, because these babies have never seen a human. Toddlers, same sort of thing, like they just weren't in daycare, they weren't around humans, so the little ones, yes. We've noticed like the medium kids, like the 5 to 8 range, are pretty good at Zoom now. Like they Zoom school, they know what they're doing. They're like helping their parents clicking to audio. But yes, and it has not been great for casting because you can't really bond with the child on Zoom. You can't, like, I don't know, like, they're like, I used to be able, if you said to me after a kid's audition, Sarah, what kid should I pick? I could give you like a full speech about everyone, everything they've done, their personality, their hobbies, what they're into. Now I'm like, I can't tell you. I can call their agent and get some more information, but I don't know the 5-year-old. I knew them when they were babies, now they're kids, so.
It's tougher for her, because when we're on Zoom and we're reviewing kids, and the director or the agency will say, Stephen, what do you think of this kid? And I'll just say, Sarah?
But some of them I don't have the confidence I once had with that new age range because I just don't know them. And you know, the 8 to 18-year-olds now, I can talk to you in depth about them all. I feel like they're my friends. That's why my 40th birthday party was filled with them.
It really was. I'm like, wait, I felt like it really fitting.
Yeah, it was just agents and kids from the business. So I have friends.
I have a technical question. You know how sometimes when you send out a breakdown and you say, feel free to give me 2 versions of the truth, as it were. But if it doesn't say that, with the child, you know, who's taking the hamburger away and having to do a wide smile or the Disney look or just more subtle and real child, should we suggest them doing 2 takes?
I would say for commercials always, and make sure it doesn't look like for me, the biggest red flag is it looks like they recorded it once and uploaded it twice.
Yeah.
That's like a huge red flag for me, and that's on every job because they are like, okay, this is how I'm gonna do it, and this is exactly how I'm gonna do it again. If you're gonna send a second take, make sure there's some subtle differences, which obviously you guys know, but
not the child necessarily.
You know, and if it doesn't say, like, we're usually really specific. If it doesn't say, I would do 2.
Yeah, you can do 2. Lead with the best take.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, sometimes when a director or agency is watching, people say they don't look at all the takes. That's bullshit. They do. The only way they won't look at take number 2 is if they find something in take number 1 that is so like out there and like not right that they don't feel like, if that's your first instinct. So I would always lead with something sort of more on point, subtle, straight, and let them see something that, like, because then you've earned their psychological kind of trust or whatever it might be, you know, like, this kid's good. Or sometimes no comment is great. You know what I mean? Just, you don't want to put something out there that's just like too big to lead with, right? But you can do a couple of takes. Listen, at the end of the day, good is good.
Yeah, we're just, sometimes with self-tapes, as we've all discussed, you're missing the subtlety too of getting to know this kid in the room, the director on the first round, right? So maybe allowing them to give me a different take, I might see more of their personality, which would be fun, if it's on point and in the zone, right? So
and if they don't want to watch a second one, they won't, you know, so I always
and that's fine.
Yeah.
We assume they do. A lot of times, I mean, like when we get the recall list, in like, you know, the numbers range from 1 to whatever it ended at, you know, like they go through.
Oh yeah, sorry, like but they won't necessarily, if they didn't love you at the start of your take, or if they hated your slate even, you know what I mean, then they obviously don't want your takes.
Yeah, those things are terrible slates. Like when you gun yourself down at the slate, it's hard to get through it's hard to move on, right? Like just people trying to be funny and like, less is more. Less is more always.
I think I'm going to send you some fun slates just for
Yeah,
that.
I don't mind watching them like in my, you know, like offline and stuff. Like
or slate shots that they even upload on Breakdown Express. Some of them are
so bad.
Wild. Like that's a great way to not get on
This is a good thing to pass on to our fellow coaches.
Everyone should have a slate shot. It is so
really
easy
important.
on Breakdown Express. It's free.
Yeah.
All it is, hey, I'm Sarah Sheps. That's it. The algorithm makes it go higher because the way we see your pictures, it's an algorithm, so we don't always see the same agents first or alphabetically, which wouldn't be fair. So the more you have, the higher you're up. So that gives you the extra boost.
When you in a search, but also even for the adults, I gotta tell you something. Like, you know, I've spent my life looking at headshots. They started where I put them on a table, hard copy. Now you're all thumbnail.
Yeah.
So when
I see a slate shot, I know what it is. I click on it every single time, and sometimes once it's done, it reverts back to the picture. And you're like, whoa, what a difference. Like there's energy and there's a life.
You can hear their voice.
You just get a vibe, right? Even for Jesse, Sharon, all you guys, like add it to your own profiles. don't take a chance with it. Like, you can watch Dan's slate shot. Like, some people, they try to be funny. It's just like, I'm Sharon Help, Toronto. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's all we need, but I get something from you other than that still thumbnail.
And then it's always nice to see that you look anything like your headshots.
Yeah.
People, because sometimes I'm like,
So
whoa!
you're talking Harry Potter headshots, you're talking the
Just-
same
just-
frame as a headshot, but talking, not talking
Yeah.
about body
Yeah,
shape.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Gordon Shore, I'm in Toronto, thanks.
And if you want, you can pan out to your full body if you want at the end, if you're fancy, sure, but you don't have to. But it's like, I mean, with you guys, we probably wouldn't watch them because we know you and you're great. But for people you don't know, all I hear is Steven slate shots going. Like, you watch slate
But like,
shots.
there are a lot of people, like, for example, like, sometimes we cast jobs out of market. So, you know, if there's somebody that's in LA that's doing an actor project or something, and they're doing a search for males in your age range or your age or females, and you come up, they will click that. I promise you. If they gravitate to your look or your headshot, they will click it. I mean, it makes our life so much easier. And for these kids, the parents, like, you can update them at a cost, and you get like 2 free ones.
Something like that, or probably every year. I'm sure for
It's
kids,
great.
they have a way they can upload them, like every year. Because
It's
obviously
great.
they can.
Actors Access?
Yeah.
Yeah, Actors Access, we get 2 free pictures,
Yeah.
and if I remove one, I can put up a different one on
I think your
stage
slate
3.
shot, you're probably okay to, I don't know, but.
But just encourage, like, if you tell the parents, like, it's a great tool, but like, it's not like a set. You're not looking to make anyone laugh. It's generic and safe, just so that we see the life.
That's great. I
Right,
love that.
that's a great
It
advice.
really helps, especially for the actors. Like, you know, I'm doing a lot of casting right now for some reason in Vancouver. I click on those because I don't know the pool like I know here. You know, and sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes like, we'll watch a slate shot and I get more from that than your resume. Because remember, we're doing a 15-second spot. You don't need to be trained that much. You just need to get it, understand it, want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I went through these courses and stuff. It's just simple. All right.
That's our time.
That's wonderful. I had so much fun.
Yeah.